Hello, robotics folks. We're here to talk about the chain and sprocket mechanism, and I hope y'all get a chance to come on campus and build this one. This has been one of the most successful builds I think we've done yet, because everybody just about was able to build this with little to no issues. It's basically putting two gears on, and you don't even have to line them up or anything. It's great. It's easy. As long as you have some good build ideas from before, it's pretty easy to do. So a chain is a flexible series of connected links. Most of your chains we're going to encounter here are going to be roller chains. A roller chain is built up links, and each link has it's like a little cylinder, and on the ends of the cylinder there's little arms, and the ends of the arms will connect to the next cylinder. And so it's kind of like it'll be flat. They'll all be the same shape going through. There's chains like with links that, like on a necklace or something you have around your neck. Those links are going to actually go through each other, and so they can't be all parallel. They're going to be kind of at 90 degrees or somewhere between 0 and 90. So if I had like a sprocket, every other link, it wouldn't be able to put a tooth in that because it'd be at some weird angle. So that's why they're all roller chains that we're going to be using. The sprocket is a gear that has a specialized shape to all the teeth, and it's shaped to fit into specific slots on a specific chain. It's meant to drive the chain. They're not meant to drive each other. They're meant to drive the chain, which will drive the next one. Some sprockets will intermesh with like a solid, like a track or something with holes in it, perforations, or just indentations. But the ones we're using, again, we're going to be using these chains, specifically the roller chain. One thing they're really good for is having perfect timing between your drive and driven tracks. One of the biggest things when I was doing some more research than what's just in the PLTW book, they said, hey, why not use a belt and pulley system? Because belts and pulleys is essentially the same kind of thing. You've got round things that spin around, and you've got a belt that goes around them. But what if you get some resistance, or what if the torque increases or decreases? The belt might slip. Your friction might not be enough, and the belt might slip, and that would not have good timing, and that creates problems in certain scenarios. There are pros to using a belt, and that actually, depending on your situation, being able to have slippage might be a pro. Let's say you're in a factory, and you don't want, if like someone's hand gets caught in the machinery, if the belt slips instead of pulling your hand into the machinery, that's a good thing. You want the belt to slip in that case. So the distance between your drive and driven axles is not going to be determined by the size of the sprockets, but by the length of the chain. I don't like how I phrase this anymore. What I'm trying to say in this is that you don't need to necessarily, if you had two gears and you're trying to get the teeth to line up and mesh, sometimes it takes a bit of finesse to figure out which hole do I put the axle through on my support structure? How do I make sure that these teeth are right where they need to be? It's a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes, because if you can't line it up right, then you have to undo something and move it over. It's annoying. If I want to change out a smaller gear for a larger gear, now I've got to move my axle over. Or if I want to change my larger gear for a smaller gear, I've got to move my axle over. It's annoying. But with a chain with sprockets, now I can put my gears where I want them to be, and I just have to increase how many links in the chain, or decrease. I just have to worry about how many links I got, how big my chain is. And that's a lot easier to fix than undoing the entire axle system. And also, I don't need idler gears necessarily. If I have two gears, I know what size they need to be, I know how far apart they need to be. I don't have to put 7 little gears in between them so that the motion gets transmitted. I can just use one chain. So you can save on moving parts that way, fewer moving parts. Another cool thing, your gear ratio is still determined the same way. I love this sort of image. I wish I'd found it sooner. The larger my input gear gets compared to the output, the more speed I'm going to get. The smaller my input gear gets compared to the output, the more torque you're going to get. And that's just the way things are. It's usually pretty easy to add and remove links to your chain. Here's a bunch of different chains I just found. I was like, hey, that's cool. This one's kind of like the one we've got. The other ones, like these other three, the bottom one and the top two, and even this one right here, this has got a link with a little place you can attach something. So you can attach things like tank treads or buckets for conveying items or, you know, teeth or something. You can attach stuff to it. So that's really cool too. So here's the thing to keep in mind about sprockets. First of all, they're never meshed together directly. They're not like gears. You don't put the teeth together. They're not shaped for that. They are shaped specifically for a chain. If you have a bunch of sprockets on the inside of the chain, they're all going to rotate the same direction because that chain is moving around like that. It's going to hit every single one of them and turn them all the same direction. If I have a sprocket on the outside, though, that one's going to go in the opposite direction compared to the ones on the inside. It's like up here, this one, all three of these gears are turning the same direction. Another way you can eliminate the need for an idler. Where do we find them? We find them in bicycles. You see them a lot of the time in bicycles. Sometimes, like, a lot of students, they saw, you know, this image right here. They're like, hey, that's the thing that's on my bicycle. I'm like, hey, yeah, that is a thing that's on your bicycle. It's just like that. Of course, that one up there was made of plastic. The one down here is made of metal. But yeah, there is a bike chain. And if I ask a question about this, like, hey, is my speed going to increase or is my torque going to increase in the system with this gear, or this sprocket, and the chain between them? Think about it. They're also used in motorcycles. Same basic idea. You're going to have an engine instead of pedals driving your wheels, but the same basic idea. Cars. There are some locations in a car where they're going to have chains and sprockets. There's chains and sprockets in your ATVs. Here's some tank treads. You can see they have flats on the outside of these chains that are attached. And yeah, so vehicles with tracks. Here's a picture I found. It looks like a SolidWorks or some computer drafting image of a bucket system to convey things up, dump them out, go back down again. So you can have conveyor systems. I thought of this after one of my classes. I was like, oh, I'll put chainsaws on there too. Yeah, chainsaws. There are teeth attached periodically along links, and once this chain gets up to speed, those teeth cut right through stuff. That's basically all there is to it for chains and sprockets. Some of the questions we see over and over again that come up in the little quizzes I've got are, is the flow of power reversible? If I spin this sprocket, will it spin that? If I spin this sprocket, will it spin that one? Yeah, it's reversible. Can I change directions? Yeah, I absolutely can. I don't know what other questions there were. I can't remember right now. Probably like gear ratios. If I have my input gear being small, my output gear being large, then my ratio will be a larger number to a smaller number. Anyways. It was really fun building these. I'm excited. It's one of the, because chains are so much fun in general, because you can like add all the links together, all of them, and you can make them spiral around. You can make giant loops of chain. Like my 9th graders that came in at the end of the day were playing with them yesterday. They were like, oh, look at all these links. It's so much fun. And I was like, all right, just don't break them because they're made of plastic. And that's the part that I found broken most often were little chain link pieces. So hopefully y'all get to come and play with these. If you don't, like if you ever have the opportunity to get something for, you know, for Christmas, or if you save up some money from doing chores or whatever, you want to go buy yourself some parts to play with, something that has a chain and sprocket system is pretty darn cool. Alrighty, y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to y'all soon.